Ever think about what happens when a massive fast food chain like McDonald's has a major crisis?
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
It's a deep dive
Sounds good.
into how McDonald's is handling this E. coli outbreak
Right.
that's been linked to their quarter pounders.
Uh-huh.
We're going to be using a recent CNBC article as our guide.
Okay, great.
So,
Yeah.
what do you think is so interesting about this whole situation?
Well, it's just amazing how fast things can get out of control.
Yeah.
You have this really popular product,
Uh-huh.
the quarter pounder, and all of a sudden there's this huge E. coli outbreak across 13 states.
Wow.
And then it's not just a health scare,
Right.
it's like a business catastrophe.
Yeah, and the numbers are really scary.
They are.
We're talking 75 cases so far.
Uh-huh.
22 people have been hospitalized.
Oh,
And
wow.
sadly, one person has died.
Oh, no.
And the CDC is saying that the investigation could take weeks.
Weeks.
Weeks?
Yeah, that's definitely going to add fuel to the fire.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So while the CDC is looking into all of this,
Right.
McDonald's has to figure out how to contain this
Mhm.
and reassure people that everything's okay.
Exactly.
Their stock price has already gone down 6% since the outbreak was announced.
Oh, wow.
So investors are definitely keeping a close eye on this.
Yeah, I bet.
And I'm sure anyone who's recently had a quarter pounder is feeling a little uneasy right now.
For sure.
It's not even just about the numbers.
Yeah.
It's about trust.
Exactly.
When you're serving food,
Yeah.
you really have to keep that trust.
Absolutely.
So how is McDonald's handling this?
Well,
Did they just
I mean,
hope it would go away?
not at all.
Uh,
They jumped right into action.
Okay.
They pulled the quarter pounders from like 20% of their restaurants in the U.S.
Wow.
And they told all their locations to get rid of the slivered onions.
Interesting.
That's what they think is causing the problem.
Okay.
McDonald's USA president Joe Erlinger has been making statements. And even doing appearances.
Oh, wow.
Trying to calm everyone down.
So classic crisis management.
Yeah.
Be fast, be decisive.
Exactly.
But isn't it kind of like using a garden hose to put out a wildfire?
Well,
The CDC is still trying to figure out what's causing the problem.
right.
So it could be the onions,
Uh-huh.
which they think came from a supplier called Taylor Farms.
Yeah, I read about that.
And they even had a recall.
Really?
But it could be something else completely.
Like what?
It could be the beef patties.
Oh, okay.
Or who knows?
Right.
It could be something else entirely.
Yeah, that uncertainty is a huge problem.
Yeah.
It just makes people more and more anxious
Uh-huh.
every day that goes by without a clear answer.
Yeah.
And then you start to wonder,
Okay.
have they done enough?
Yeah.
Are they just reacting?
Right.
Or should they be doing more to try to prevent this from happening again?
That's a great point.
It is.
It reminds me of the other E. coli outbreaks that we've
Yeah.
seen with fast food restaurants.
Oh,
Like Wendy's last year.
right.
Over 100 people got sick then.
Yeah,
But they were able to bounce back pretty quickly.
right.
Wendy's did pretty much the same thing as McDonald's. Got rid of the products that might have been contaminated,
Uh-huh.
talked to the public,
Okay.
and it just kind of went away.
It's pretty different from what happened with Chipotle, though.
Yeah, totally different.
They had outbreak after outbreak
For years.
for years.
Yeah, Chipotle had a really tough time getting people to trust them again.
Yeah.
I remember reading about how they had to change all their food safety rules.
Right.
It took them forever to recover.
It did.
Chipotle's story is like a warning,
Yeah,
especially for companies that sell food.
absolutely.
It shows how bad things can get
Uh-huh.
if this happens over and over again. So we've got these two examples.
Okay.
Wendy's bounced back quickly.
Uh-huh.
Chipotle struggled for years.
Yeah.
Where do you think McDonald's will end up?
Well, we don't know for sure yet. But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
The legal trouble's already starting.
What do you mean?
There's already at least 2 lawsuits against them.
Oh, wow.
And that's probably just the beginning.
Yeah, if this keeps going,
Yeah,
those lawsuits could get really expensive.
definitely.
Remember what happened with Jack in the Box in the 90s?
Oh, yeah, that E. coli outbreak.
It was a disaster.
It was.
They ended up paying over $50 million in settlements.
Wow.
That case changed everything
It did.
for the whole fast food industry.
Uh,
It made everyone realize how important food safety is
right.
and how bad the consequences could be.
For sure.
McDonald's is in a tough spot.
They are.
They're dealing with the public health crisis.
Yeah.
It's a PR nightmare,
Mm-hmm.
and the legal pressure is just going to keep building.
Definitely.
But ultimately,
Yeah.
it all comes down to trust.
Absolutely.
Can McDonald's stop this outbreak?
Right.
Can they reassure their customers?
Yeah.
Can they get people to believe in them again?
Well, that's the big question.
Like a $1 million question.
It is,
Okay. I think this is a good place to stop for now.
Okay.
We've talked about how this whole thing started.
Uh-huh.
what McDonald's did right away,
Yeah.
and the trouble they could get into with the law.
Right.
But we haven't even touched on how this will affect their business,
That's true.
their sales,
Yeah.
and what people will think of them in the long run.
Yeah. That's the really interesting part.
It is.
And that's what we're going to be talking about in part 2 of our depth dive.
Stay tuned. So welcome back to our deep dive into what's going on with McDonald's and this E. coli outbreak.
Yep.
We were just talking about the legal problems they're facing.
Uh-huh.
But this is way bigger than just lawsuits.
It is.
This is like a full-blown business crisis.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
McDonald's has been really pushing those value meals,
Right.
trying to get those customers who are watching their wallets.
Yeah. Makes sense in this economy.
But how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
How do you focus on low prices, right, when you also need to show that you care about safety and quality?
Especially after something like this.
Yeah, after a food safety scare like this.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It's a real dilemma for them.
For sure.
It's like they're trapped.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
If they raise prices
Uh-huh.
to improve their food safety,
Right.
they might lose those budget-conscious customers.
Those are the ones they've been working so hard to get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if they don't raise prices
Mhm.
and something like this happens again,
Oh, man.
it could be a disaster.
It would be.
Yeah, and it's not even just about this one outbreak.
Mm.
There's that psychological factor, too.
What do you mean?
People might just avoid McDonald's altogether.
Oh, just because of this?
Even if the risk is low,
Yeah.
people might be too scared to eat there.
And that means lost sales,
Definitely.
especially in the fast food industry.
So competitive.
Super competitive.
Yeah, so it seems like McDonald's has to do more than just fix this outbreak.
Way more.
They have to make people believe in them again.
Absolutely.
Show that they're serious about food safety.
Right.
But how can they do all that and not go broke in the process?
That's the question, isn't it?
That's the big question.
It is. And maybe we can look at some past cases for ideas.
Okay.
Remember what Jack in the Box did back in the 90s?
Oh, yeah, with that awful E. coli outbreak.
Yeah, they actually offered to pay for everyone's medical bills.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow, that's a bold move.
it was.
It must cost them a fortune.
It did.
But I bet it helped people trust them again.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Should McDonald's do that?
It's a possibility.
Hmm.
The CNBC article actually quotes Bill Marler.
Who's that?
Oh, he's a food safety lawyer who's dealt with tons of these cases.
Okay.
And he says that McDonald's just needs to look like they're doing the right thing. That's how they'll be able to recover quickly.
Interesting.
Showing empathy for the people who got sick.
Right.
Taking responsibility. That could really change how people see them.
But wouldn't that be risky?
What do you mean?
If they start paying medical bills, isn't that like admitting they're guilty?
Well,
And wouldn't that just lead to more lawsuits?
it's definitely a gamble.
Yeah.
But perception is everything in a situation like this.
Sure.
Sometimes doing the right thing,
Uh-huh.
even if it costs you money up front, can pay off in the long run.
So you're saying it's more about the long game,
Exactly.
showing people that you care more about people than profits.
Absolutely.
But let's be real.
Okay.
McDonald's supply chain is huge.
Oh, yeah, it's massive.
Beef, onions,
Mm.
produce,
Uh-huh.
distribution centers all over the country.
It's a giant web.
How can they be sure that this won't happen again somewhere else?
That's why a lot of experts are saying McDonald's needs to go beyond just reacting to this one outbreak.
Okay.
Dr. Darren Detweiler,
Okay.
he's a food policy expert quoted in the article.
Uh-huh.
He thinks McDonald's should be testing their ingredients in other states, too.
Even where there haven't been any cases.
Yeah, as a preventative measure.
Proactive.
Exactly. He calls it corporate social responsibility.
Sounds like a good idea.
It does?
Like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure?
Right.
But wouldn't that be super expensive?
Yeah, it would.
But I guess another outbreak would be even more expensive.
Oh, yeah, way more.
More lawsuits,
Uh-huh.
losing even more trust.
It's about the long game.
Right. It's about investing in the future,
Exactly.
not just putting out fires as they come up.
Right.
But this whole E. coli thing makes me wonder
About what?
about their whole business model.
How so?
They've been all about keeping prices low,
Yeah.
but maybe that makes it harder to have really good food safety.
That's a good point.
Can you really have both?
Yeah. Can you have low prices and high safety standards?
Maybe they need to change how they get their ingredients,
Maybe.
how they check for quality.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they even need to change their menu.
It's possible.
This could be a turning point for McDonald's.
It really could.
It's not just about this one E. coli outbreak,
It's about the future of their business.
how they connect with their customers,
Yeah.
and where they fit in the fast food world.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? We've
Well,
talked about what they did right away,
Yeah.
the legal problems they're facing,
Yeah.
how they can get people to trust them again,
Right.
and even how this could change their whole business.
Yeah.
But what does all this mean for the average person?
That's a great question.
For someone like you or me
Yeah.
who just wants to grab a burger every once in a while?
That's a perfect question to wrap up with.
And that's what we're going to talk about in the final part of our deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so we're back for the last part of our deep dive into this whole McDonald's E. coli thing.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
We've covered a lot.
We have.
From their first reactions to the lawsuits, and even how this could change their business in the long run.
It's a lot to unpack.
But let's think about the everyday person. What does all this mean for someone like me?
Well, I think it really brings up those big questions about food safety
Yeah.
and whether we can trust the companies that make our food.
It makes you think twice about where your food actually comes from.
It does.
And like,
Yeah.
are the systems in place
Mhm.
actually keeping us safe?
Exactly.
It makes you way more aware.
It does.
Like you see the golden arches,
Yeah.
and you just think about
Yeah.
consistency,
Uh-huh.
affordability.
Cheap eats.
Yeah. Cheap eats.
Familiarity.
Yeah, you know what you're getting.
Right.
But then something like this happens,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows you that even that perfect system,
It's not so perfect after all.
yeah, it has its weaknesses.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that even the biggest companies
Yeah.
can make mistakes.
They're not immune to these kinds of problems.
Nope.
So for us regular folks,
Yeah,
I guess it means we got to stay informed.
for sure.
Pay attention to what's going on with food safety.
Yeah.
And be careful about where we eat.
Absolutely.
So what should we be looking for?
Right.
Like, what are the signs that a company actually cares about food safety?
I'd say transparency is a big one.
What do you mean?
Being open about where they get their ingredients,
Oh.
what they do to keep things safe,
Okay.
and how they deal with problems when they pop up.
So, like a clear plan for outbreaks
Exactly.
and communicating with the public.
Yeah, being upfront and honest.
Got it.
That shows they're taking it seriously.
But what about those of us who are still kind of iffy about McDonald's,
I get it.
even if they do everything right?
Uh-huh.
How long will it take for people to trust them again?
Well, it depends.
Okay.
Some people might forget about it pretty quickly.
Okay.
Others might be more cautious.
Right. It depends on the person,
Yeah.
how worried they are.
But like we've been talking about,
Yeah.
rebuilding trust takes time. It takes effort.
Okay.
And it takes a real commitment to doing better.
So what's the big lesson here?
Well, I think it shows how connected everything really is. Even something like a foodborne illness outbreak.
Uh-huh.
It can have huge effects
Yeah.
on the whole industry. It affects how people act,
Yeah.
stock prices,
Mm-hmm.
even legal stuff.
And how companies plan for the future.
It's a fascinating case study.
It really is.
We see how to handle a crisis,
Yeah.
how important it is for businesses to do the right thing,
Mm.
and how the relationship between companies and consumers is constantly changing.
I feel like my eyes have been opened.
Mine too.
We've learned how crucial it is
Yeah.
to act fast in a crisis.
Uh-huh.
How bad it can be for a company's reputation if they mess up,
Right.
and how hard it is to balance keeping prices low
Yeah,
with keeping food safe.
that's the tough part.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
But I think the most important thing
Yeah.
is to stay informed,
Absolutely.
ask questions,
Uh-huh.
and make sure companies are taking responsibility.
Couldn't agree more.
And maybe the biggest question of all is,
What is it?
what would we do if we were in McDonald's shoes?
That's a good one.
How would we deal with this?
Yeah.
How would we balance our business needs
Right.
with taking care of our customers?
And how would we deal with the public?
With all the different opinions out
It's
there,
a real challenge.
definitely something to ponder.
Food for thought.
Literally food for thought.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.